양지 진보조는 님이장 오늘 모는 진보는 갑자다 바크스타는 산도 실마도 돈바 특지잖아 기시험처럼 내전 저वर्증이 정금스 저वर्도 기시험노엘라 주면 번조자라 소란 공기 도반 버를 신지로 도포 감날 하트 하르 즉샷바 호스म人群 gem비 남칼라 점저저 janchi jiangzhi xie nibi le zhongdom arjendom xie jiaji rangzhen de lo tong zhi jia nian zhi ji zi we rang lo che dang zhi tong te ba yin na hua sem tong zi ji xi nam ka la zhe ge jiangzhi ji dang ji cha li zhendom nga jia jia dang nian xie nga ma lo jia jia nian zhi ji zi rong lo jia tong war dang ne ba yin na hua si mem zi jian bi nam ka la ga dan chum chu long shu de ga wa jian yang zhe ji li zhong dong nga jia de ma lo ji jia nian zhi ji zi bi rong lo jia tong war ni te ba guo hua si me yin ji jian bi nam ka la tab zhi li bu jiang zhe je sema te zhen dong sam jia dan zhe zar nga guo ma lo ni jia zhe ji ziba yi rong lo tong war ni de ne ba guo de tren do pe long shu pun zo de de zi ze so shen de jia che guo do pa shu pa gang zhen do pa shu pa gang zhen chi ne ram zhen te gut lag jang ni ni ke de ram zhen chi ni song je dan ba ne de zi ba gang pang ne gong me de chi re te lobji ne zong lor ni war ram zhen zang lang shi ba nam gi na chu de ne de ho sem yong di jian bi sa zhe la sem chi za sem chi za sem yang zhe zhe cha ni zhong dun ni ya zhong dun ni ya ngap chi rang zhen li ma lo mai lo ya rang lo tong zhe chi re re ren xin na ji war ram le jia qi re ji jiang zhe ji cha li zhong dong jia dang ni shi zar nga go ma lo ngap chi nian zhe chi zi bi rang lo ngap ji war dang ne ba go la men er nam 这样啊，刚才可能时间稍微用了多一点。
Okay, so we should start our class because I probably used too much time earlier in making announcements, but we don't have that much time. Today I heard that the male sector, the male Tibetan sectors, the manager told the other Khenpo saying that Khenpo could give teachings for 3 hours, all the way between 3 to 6. Initially, his class was between 3 to 5:30. But now, in order to ask the other Khenpo to give more teachings, they postponed their debate program that was supposed to be held at 5:30. In contrary to that, if I were to pass the 9:30 mark every time I give a teaching, the students would keep looking at their watch and signaling me that I've spoke for too long. But it is not to say that I am not asking you to come tomorrow to request me to speak as long as I want. I will teach as long as I wish. Another thing I would like to say is that now the staff member works in the library. Initially, you're not allowed to stay here for a long period of time, but you're just temporarily staying here, working here. Earlier, some manager from the library, they said that some of the staff members, they can only work for 1 or 2 hours and then they can't work anymore. For these kinds of staff member, it would be the best for you not to stay here, because the reason to keep your residency status here is for you to staff and work in the library. It is not to give you the special permission for you to listen to classes only. It is very difficult to work with management. We have various pressures from here and there. Many people would think that, oh, it's so easy to deal with every aspect of things. When I went out for half a month, how do you feel that you have to be on yourself? It would be the best for you not to rely on me because I am not unconditioned. I'm also a conditioned Dharma, and within all the conditioned Dharma, it is of great fragility and it is quite impermanent. And I am very much subject to causes and conditions. Therefore, it is quite important to perfect our management regulations. Without such, then all the management would have to work very hard to keep everything running. All the management working here in the Han Chinese sector over here, every year, I believe all the management had to work very hard, and every 2 years they would get retired and stop their roles serving for the Sangha in the management team. And whenever that happens, it feels like they just lift off a great burden off their shoulder. Therefore, when it comes to management, we should try our best to comply with the management rules and regulations and the people who work as managers. When we look at this Laronggar, the institute has been here for 20 years after Phuntsok Rinpoche's passing. It is not easy. You may feel that it is almost like the heavenly realm where it is emanated and manifested by the others. Through the others' miraculous power, you can think that some of you would think that, oh, I am here to enjoy, I'm not here to contribute. In this way, it will be difficult for the institute to survive and to continue. And if everyone were to think in such a way, then it's not going to last for a long period of time. Maybe the way I speak to you is rather quite coarse and rough, but I don't have any anger in my mind. Rather, it is spoken in such a way so that you would listen and you would take whatever I'm teaching into your heart. I am simply just making this manifestation so that you would listen carefully. I believe we forgot to study the last verse from last week, where the verse talks about the celestial beings in the form realm do not rely on separate meals, rather they enjoy the food of dhyana. Previously, we stated that, first of all, the celestial beings, they are born with the infinite palace. So they already have all the clothing and have all the provisions that they need at the time of birth, and they do not need to have fathers and mothers. They do not rely on the separate meals to survive, and rather they would enjoy the food of dhyana. So these are the 4 types of characteristics. I remembered that I forgot to explain this after I went back home. Anyhow, these 4 are the characteristics of the merits of the celestial beings. Today we will continue to talk about the desire realm. I think the wish-fulfilling treasury is really a great text for the beginners to study, especially if one were to finish the preliminary practices and the Bodhisattva Charyavatara. If one can study wish-fulfilling treasury, then one will be able to understand whatever needs to be understood, because it includes all the 3 aspects: the studying, the contemplation, and then the practice of the Dharma. In the beginning of it, there is the studying part, so that we can get understanding, and then later we can contemplate, and then at the end we can engage in practice. In the teaching of wish-fulfilling treasury, I did not ask all of you to have received the empowerments, but usually it is required for people to receive empowerments to study this teaching. But I think considering the current situation that we have, it would be the best for you to listen to the Dharma, because listening to the Dharma would get only harder in the future. Therefore, even if you can listen to one class, even if it's one day for you to be able to listen to a class, I think it would be beneficial. Especially for all of us who study the Dharma, I think it would give us a really great overview of the Sutra and Vajrayana teachings. And now let's look at the desire realm. Desire realm is divided into two aspects. One is the virtuous or the higher realms, and then the lower realms. In terms of higher realms, there are the two, the celestial beings and the human beings. But the Asuras, according to Longchenpa, he then expounded Asuras as a part of the celestial beings. Now let's look at the actual teaching on the desire realm, especially on the heavenly domain. It has the brief explanation and then the extensive explanation. In the desire realm, there are the 6 heavens. We already studied it. There are the 6 celestial heavens and 2 terrestrial heavens that relies on ground. Let's look at the celestial heaven. The 4 celestial heaven has some differences and their commonalities. There are 4 celestial heavens.
中共有4处啊，就是这个4处。那这4处的话呢，首先是这样的。
The first one out of the 4 is the Parinimita Vasavartin heaven, or the master over others creation heaven. In the verse, it says, "The space is adorned with the wish-fulfilling jewel." In the Paramita Vasavartin heaven, the celestial being's height is 1.5 koshas. That is 750 bow length. In the human domain, it is 1,600 years, but in the Parinimita Vasavartin heaven, the lifespan is 16,000 years. Previously, we've learned that the Mara Papian lives in this particular heaven, the Parinimita Vasavartin heaven, and the reason he lives in this heaven is because he made offering to a Pratika Buddha, and with this kind of cause and with this kind of merit, he was reborn in the higher realms. Though that his mind is still vicious, he thinks about harming other beings at all times, but he enjoys great merit because of that action of making offering to that particular Buddha. So there are the good celestial beings and the bad celestial beings as well. In this Parinimita Vasavartin heaven, in the space, since it is of the highest out of the 4 desire celestial heavens, which is right below the Brahma heaven from the form realm. So it resides in this space called wish-fulfilling jewel-adorned space. It is called the master over others creation because it relies on the others' manifestations and emanations, and then they will be able to enjoy all of those things that's emanated, just like other people are manifesting it. Therefore, it is called master over others creation. The height of them is 1.5 koshas, which is 700 bow length. Because 500 bow length is 1 kosha, so 1.5 is 750 bow length. In terms of the lifespan, because in human realm, 600 years is 1 day in Parinimita Vasavartin heaven. Therefore, if we were to count 30 days as 1 month and 12 months as a year, in that way, the lifespan is about 16,000 years. Later, we will look more at why there are so many descriptions on wish-fulfilling jewel. Because the space that's named with the wish-fulfilling jewel, because wish-fulfilling jewel is very well known in the celestial realm, in the heavenly domain, because by relying on the wish-fulfilling tree, one would be able to gain anything they want. So with this wish-fulfilling tree, if the wish-fulfilling tree were to adorn the space of the heavenly space, then it is quite desired. Therefore, it is called the wish-fulfilling. The wish-fulfilling tree is the best, is desired by all the celestial beings. Therefore, it is called by the space is called the wish-fulfilling jewel. Out of the wish-fulfilling tree, everything can be manifested. Let it be the Vasavartin, the Paranimita Vasavartin heaven, or the other heaven domains. By relying on the merit of wish-fulfilling tree, they would be able to receive everything and anything that they wish. The Paranimita Vasavartin heaven is the highest heaven of the desire realm. In the form heavens, in the form realm heavens, there are 17 heavens, if you remember. And the lifespan of the form realm celestial beings are not calculated by humans' lifespan, by the way that humans calculate the lifespan. But when it comes to the desire realm, then the lifespan can be calculated compared to the human life. In the sutra, the comparison on the lifespan sutra taught by the Buddha, there are also descriptions of the different lifespans, which is exactly the same as the wish-fulfilling treasury, including that of the 6 heavens of desire realm. I will not expound too much in detail, but I think Longchenpa, maybe he cross-referenced to that, but I'm not quite sure. As I said, some of the sutras can be found in the Chinese Tripitaka, and some can be found only in the Tibetan Tripitaka, and some can be only found in the Chinese Tripitaka. So some of them can be found in both of the Tripitakas. But anyhow, we see that the teaching is exactly the same to the sutra. So we need to cherish this teaching, and we need to analyze and study it to detail. And the next one is the second one from top to bottom, counting from top. That's the second one, which is Yamanarati heaven. It says that in the known as wonderful seeing wish-fulfilling jewel space, the celestial beings in the Yamanarati heaven, their height is 1.25 koshas, and that is 625 bow length. Their one day is equivalent to 800 years of human beings. The space is called known as wonderful seeing wish-fulfilling jewel. Though that in the verses it doesn't say it's a wish-fulfilling tree, rather in the auto commentary it says it's a wish-fulfilling tree. So this space is called the wonderful seeing wish-fulfilling jewel space. Why is it called the Yamanarati heaven, or the heaven of joyful creation? Is because the celestial beings would be able to create, would be emanate out of their power, and then they would be able to enjoy whatever provisions. And in terms of the height, their height of the celestial being's height is about 1.25 koshas, which is equivalent to 625 bow length. And the length of, or the duration of their lifespan is that one day of human realm is 800 years in the Nirmanarati heaven. In this way, their lifespan is about 8,000 years. So in this heaven, the celestial beings will be able to enjoy all kinds of pleasure that is far surpassed that of the human realm or the human domain, and they can enjoy all kinds of things that they need. Though that all celestial beings have great merit and they would be able to enjoy all kinds of provisions, all kinds of enjoyments, but because of the difference in merit, it is said that the Nirmanarati heaven celestial beings would be able to enjoy more than the others. Sometimes I think we would be able to manifest all kinds of things out of our cell phones by relying on internet. Therefore, in the large cities, we can see them as the human domain Nirmanarati heaven. But it is not completely based on a cell phone or internet. Rather, if you don't have money, you won't be able to manifest them either. And that can be compared to the merits, the differences of merit. But it's very difficult to say what human beings' life would become later, after 2 or 3 decades, after 100 years. I don't know what's going to be like, because the whole life would be completely different. Nowadays, there are talks about metaverse, which is completely unfathomable. Because in the future, people seem to be heading to the kind of lifestyle that is completely relied on the virtual world. Nowadays, people started to buy land, buy space, buy toys, buy all kinds of provisions in metaverse. They would buy the cryptocurrencies or the virtual currencies, and they would talk about how much logo or a picture, a display picture would worth so and so virtual money. Nowadays, even a tiny logo or tiny display picture, those NFTs would sell for a very expensive price. But maybe people would start to live in such a way that is completely reliant on virtual space. For example, nowadays we can just take a cell phone and scan our QR code, and we can buy anything from internet. But those are completely unfathomable for people who lived 100 years ago. Therefore, if we were to tell our lifestyle to the people who lived 100 years ago, they would feel that this is almost like living in the heaven of joyful creation, or the heaven of mastering others' creation. We have no idea who's creating those. It feels that all of those are out of creation, out of manifestation. The other day I was joking with a couple saying that currently the pricing for the grocery shops over here are completely unfathomable. Who knows who's making up all of this complex pricing for the different vegetables? Therefore, even our world right now, the way our life is also living in illusion, living in creation or manifestation. We have no idea how we're going to live the life in the future. In Tibet, there are people who can't read a word, but they would be able to buy things through their cell phone, and they can do that better than me. Though that they have no idea what's written there, but they can use their cell phones to buy all kinds of things through internet. If we were to tell this to people who lived before, they would feel that this is probably some kind of myth, some kind of folklore, some kind of story. But this is happening in our real life. This is so unfathomable, so difficult to believe, but it's happening right now. Sometimes I think that I am quite fortunate. We are quite fortunate. Before our death, we've seen so many manifested things and manifested world, and the things that were not seen by our previous generation. But of course, some of them are beneficial, and some of those creation or manifestation are harmful. It is completely up to you, for you to choose from. Now, let's look at the third one, which is Tushita heaven. So Tushita is very familiar to you, isn't it? In the space of Tushita heaven, it is called the beautiful eye, wish-fulfilling, jewel-adorned space. Over there, it is probably because the celestial beings are very happy. Those celestial beings who live in Tushita heaven, they would be able to enjoy two things. One is the Mahayana Dharma teaching, and the other one is all of the wealth and fortune and provisions of the world. Therefore, they're called the Tushita heaven. The Tushita heaven is called the heaven of contentedness. Why is it called contentedness? It is because rather than the different heaven domains, a great numbers of great masters and the bodhisattvas such as Maitreya, they are all there. Therefore, it is considered as a great pure land, though that it is still part of the desire realm. Because above it nor below it, there are no opportunities for the beings to listen to the Dharma. So the Tushita heaven is a great place for the beings to listen to the Dharma, because there's not much of a distraction, and it is a place for the regent of the previous Buddha to also live there. For example, the regent of Shakyamuni Buddha is Maitreya Bodhisattva. He's also staying in the Tushita heaven. The previous three Buddhas of the 1,000 Buddhas of the good eon, their regents are also live there. Just as whenever the authorities were supposed to be promoted, they would stay at a certain place to be trained, and then they would be promoted. Therefore, Tushita heaven is indeed of a place of great contentedness. It is said that the beings in the Tushita heaven, they're not contented about the worldly wealth, rather they're contented about the seven noble wealth, as well as to the 8 noble paths. The celestial beings in the Tushita heaven, their height is about 1 yojana, which is about 500 bow length. And in terms of their lifespan is about 1 day of their time is equivalent to 400 days in the human domain. And in this way, their lifespan is about 4,000 years. So to be reborn in Tushita heaven would be really meaningful. Master Tsongkhapa and Master Xu Yun, they all took rebirth over there in Tushita heaven, and lots of great masters also take the aspiration to be reborn in Tushita heaven as well. There's a story about Asanga and Vasubandhu, as well as Buddhasija Bodhisattva. The three of them made the aspiration, whomsoever took rebirth in Tushita, they would come back and give a message, send a message to the other two. It was said that after the passing of Buddhasija, the other two did not receive any message for a long period of time. And then after the passing of Vasubandhu, after 3 years, he sent a message to Asanga saying that I have already arrived at Tushita. And then Asanga asked him, why what took you so long to give me a message? He then replied by saying that, I went to Maitreya Bodhisattva and paid prostration to him first, and then I'm back to send you the message. Because it is said that one day in the celestial realm is 100 years in the human realm. That is why it took him so long to give the message. And then what about Buddha Sija then? It is said that Buddha Sija at Dushita got lost in distraction in all kinds of entertainment. Therefore, he forgot about it. But if one were to arrive to Shita heaven, it is still not like the Sukhavati Pure Land, because there are still lots of places for entertainment. When you look at the story of the Han tradition, for example, the great master's biography, there is a great master during the Sui dynasty whose name is Xuanjing. When he was young, he really enjoyed study. And later, when he studied the Vimalakirti Sutra, he generated great faith to the Mahayana teaching, and then took ordination at the age of 20 and let go of his, and renounced from his home and his family, and fully engaged in practice. Later, he became a great master, which benefited a great thousands of people. And later, he manifested as illness, and then he told his disciples by saying that initially I really wanted to visit Maitreya Bodhisattva. However, the Yama Heavens Lord asked me to go there. Therefore, I have no other way to refuse it. And then he said that if I were to make the aspiration to benefit beings by emanating as a great teacher, and after that he passed into parinirvana, and after which after his ashes were spread into water, the water then formed into a hill. Many people saw that personally and then recorded this particular event. Therefore, many of us made the aspiration to be reborn in the Sukhavati Pure Land, or to Tushita, or to Shambhala, or other Pure Lands. According to Phuntsok Rinpoche's lineage, we should all make the aspiration to be reborn in the Sukhavati Pure Land, and then through the miraculous power and the play in freedom, we would be able to travel freely to any of the other Pure Lands to benefit beings and seek for the Dharma. This is what we should do. Now let's look at the fourth heaven, which is free of combat, the Yama heaven. In this heaven, why is it called free of combat? It is because all the celestial beings are completely freed from the war waged by Asuras. Therefore, it is called free from combat. It is just like the neutral states in our world. They don't need to be afraid of Asuras, which is really great, isn't it? Otherwise, even in human realm, if we were to be under the pressure of the Asuras or of the people who are aggressive, it is quite sad. In the miscellaneous Agama Sutra, with other translation, it says that the power can, though one has the power to combat the others' harm, however, the others would be able to take revenge and harm you as well, though one would be able to have the power to invade the others, but one will still be invaded by the others as well. Which means that in our world, though that it seems that we sometimes have the ability to surpass that of the others, sometimes we have the ability to combat with the others and to compete with the others, but eventually we will receive the same type of consequences too. According to the sutra requested by the Indra, there is one verse. It says that if one were to be be devoid of desire, then one would not have enemies or any attachments. So it means that the heaven that is free from combat, the celestial beings doesn't have any desire doesn't have any of those kinds of attachment and aversion. Therefore, there is no combats between the Shuras. Also, because of the celestial beings over there are often born in pairs, therefore it is also called the twins heaven. And in a pair, it is usually one female and one male. It is the pigeon pair. According to the Chinese tradition, it is called the dragon and phoenix twins. In the Tibetan tradition, we don't really say anything like that, but to the Chinese tradition, people feel that it is really wonderful to have the pigeon pair because in the Chinese character good, on the left side of the character is female and the right side of the character is male, or the son, daughter and son. So altogether, it means it's good. And people would feel it's very fortunate. And when we look at this heaven, whenever there are births of the devas and devis, it is all pairs of good and good and good. Let's look at the height of the celestial beings over here. There are about 3/4 of a kosha, which is 375 bow length, is less than 500, because one kosha is 500 bow length. Usually, when we look at a person's height, it is of how many bows? Is it one bow length? To extend the arms. Really? Am I that short? Maybe similar. We say that one's body's height is one bow length. And now let's look at the special descriptions of the 4 celestial heavens. The Parinimita Vasavartan heaven, the Nimanarati heaven, the Tushita heaven, the Yama heaven. You should really memorize this. You should really know about the different descriptions. Otherwise, after studying all of this inanimated world, you have no idea where the Yama heaven, the heaven free of combat is. You have no idea where the Trimsha's heaven is, and you would only consider about which heaven has the most enjoyments. I would like to go there. Though that I listened to all of them, but I forgot all of them too. So this is not an appropriate way of listening and studying the Dharma. Now let's look at the textual outline. According to Mipa Rinpoche, it says that to expound on the various specialties of the different heavens. These heavens in the desire realm has abundant provision. They have great nectars and food as well as a great amount of wealth. The beings in the desire realm that lives in the celestial heavens, they drink the nectar. The nectar is not the kind of nectar that we talk about, rather it is the celestial nectar. Also, they enjoy the most beautiful, exquisite clothing. And in their wish-fulfilling tree, there are all kinds of beautiful, melodious songs and beautiful dances, all kinds of entertainments. Everyone would be of great joy by living there because all kinds of provisions based on form, sound, smell, touch are completely abundant, and they would be able to enjoy the object as their food. Just like how in the human realm, we would have all kinds of ways to enjoy, to entertain ourselves, but mainly in human realm, it is based on desire, especially when it comes to food and relationship. But the celestial beings also have their ways of entertainment. According to the Yogacara Bhumi Shastra, it says that the celestial realm, in the celestial realm, there is the self-manifested wish-fulfilling tree, and these wish-fulfilling trees include the trees for food, for drink, for chariot, for clothing, for adornment, for fragrance, all kinds of trees that would be able to fulfill all kinds of desire, all kinds of wishes. And in the celestial realm, everyone enjoys longevity, and everyone looks very magnificent and beautiful, and their mood is quite happy as well. The celestial beings are without disease, without aging, and their body can commute to wherever they wish to, and devoid of the suffering that we have in the human realm. The other day, I remember that I went to Georgetown University, I think. A professor asked, saying that the Westerners, when it comes to the studying of Dharma, they would take the studying of Dharma as a tool to gain happiness rather than liberation. What do you think of that? And I didn't quite figure out how to answer that question, but I think I answered by saying that the true goal of studying the Dharma is not to gain happiness. Of course, by studying the Dharma, the side effect would be gaining lots of happiness and would be able to destruct lots of the suffering in this world, but the true goal, the true target of studying the Dharma is beyond the happiness, is transcend happiness. And if one were to study the Dharma because they want to gain happiness, that is not the absolute goal. That is not the most supreme destination.
好像欲界，我记得可能不是欲界，但是欲心，就是他欲界，他的那个欲，就是 怎么说啊？贪欲的行为，就是可能这个意思。
Over here, the translation in Chinese needs to be changed. Instead of desire,
性瘾就是那个
it should be changed
性瘾
into
嘛，就是他化自
lust.
在天意和次第的呢，就是他这里这个视效前手双拥抱
Lust, all the way
兼具
from
1、2、3、4性。
Parinimita
它下面呢就是
Vasavartan
这样，
heaven
那他们的
follows
这个
the
娱乐的
next
这种
few
行为
steps.
啊，有娱乐的这个就是这种
Gazing, smiling,
怎么说啊，
holding
就是
hands,
交换的这
embracing.
种这个快乐是怎么享受的呢？实际上是从这个他化自在天开始，
All the way
然后呢
from
就是都有这个
the
天女和天子。
Parinimita
那天女和
Vasavartan
天子
heaven,
他们怎么
there
样
are
这
the
个
devas
接受
and
的话呢？就
devis.
是最上面的他化自在天的话
How
呢，
do they
天子天女呢
exhibit
就是
their
互相
passion?
这个发笑就能满足这个
From
他的这
the
个欲望。
Parinimita
然后那个像
Vasavartan
都岁
heaven,
天
they
的
just
话呢，就
need
是
to
天子天女
gaze
呢，就
to
是
each
互相
other
这个
and
牵
smile.
手啊，就是拉拉手就已经
And
这个
then
获得了，就是满
it
足
gets
啊。
more
然
coarse
后这个
when
逆增天的话呢，就
it
是天
is
子天女
at
是需要这
the
个就是拥抱，
Nimanarati
就是望在前面
heaven.
是看，
Then
就是应该是那个。他化自在天是互相这个目视啊，就是目视就可以。然后化乐天的话呢，就发笑，就是微笑。然后都岁天呢，就是互相
they
这
can
个
smile. In the
那么这个是我们
Parinimita
大
Vasavartan
量的信
heaven,
息
they
学
just
习当
need
中
to
就是这样
gaze
的一个事故
at
性
each
过的
other.
时候呢，
That's
就是也是
sufficient.
就是
And then when
有一些这个修行方面的道理的
when
这个
at
原
the
因在这儿。
Nimanarati
然
heaven,
后那个
the
就是
devas
双
and
胞天
devis
双
need
胞天的
to
话呢，就
gaze
是
and
那么
then
他们是
smile.
这
And then
个
in
互相
Tushita
拥
heaven,
抱，就是当然我们实践的
they
可能
can
那样也
embrace,
并没有这样的吧，就是
and
但实
that
际
would
上
be
呢，就是互相
sufficient
这个
for them.
拥抱，就是这样就可以了。那这样的话呢，就是我们知道是刚才前面的
Now
这
we
个
know
他化
that
自在天的话
from
呢，有
the
一种他
Parinimita
看就是只
Vasavartan
有目
heaven,
视就
they
可以
only
了。
have
然后
one
第
type
二个
of
是
desire, one
化乐
type
自
of
在天的
way
话呢，就
to
是他又要这个发笑，就
demonstrate
是又要
their
这个
lust, which is
这个
gazing
刚才
to
目
each
视
other,
就是所以呢
gazing at each
要
other.
有
And
两
then
种这
in
个
the
贪欲。然后第
second
三
level
个，也就是说是刚
of the
才那
heaven,
个
which is
都岁天嘛，
Nimanarati
都岁天
heaven,
的话呢，
not
也
only
有
they
目
need to
视，还
gaze,
有
they
发
need to
笑，就是
smile.
还有
And
呢
then
就是
the
牵
next
手，
one, the
就是
third one,
就接
Tushita,
触，就是
they
这样
would
的话呢，
gaze,
它有
smile,
这个
and
三
then
种
hold hands.
天，
And then
三
Yama
种这个
heaven, they
贪欲。
would
然后
then
这个
include
逆
all
增天的
the
话呢，
three
逆增天的话呢，就是
previously
上面的这
plus
四
the
个这
embracing
个
each other.
就是包括目视啊，就是然后呢，就是发笑啊，就是然后接触啊，
So the
拥抱
first
啊，
one
就是这四
is
种天意。
gazing,
这四种天。
smiling,
所以
holding
呢，
hands,
我们
and
刚才就是
embracing.
说是就是这四个天的话呢，逐渐的或者是坚持的具有呢，就是
The
第一个
four
是就是一个
celestial
天意，二
heavens,
是第二个是二种天
step
意，
by
第三呢
step
有三个
or
天意，
layer
最
by
后第四
layer,
个，也
they
就是
would
说
have the
啊，这
increment
个逆
of
增天的话呢，
the
就是逆
more
增，最
ways
后是逆
of
增天嘛，逆增天
demonstrate
的话
their
呢，就是已
lust.
经有四种天意啊，就四种
So
贪欲，四种
in
天意。
the
那这样
Yama
的话呢，
heaven,
我
there
们这
are the
个
four
就是
types
33
of
天以下的话
lust.
呢，全部都具
All
有
the
这个
way
四种
below
贪欲。当
Trishrimsha's
然，四种
heaven,
贪欲的基础上呢，就是有真正的这
there
个
are the four
这
ways
种
of
就是
demonstrating their lust.
就是有这个阴性的这种行为吧，就是那就是下面的话呢，就是就跟上面就是有点这个不相同的啊，就不相
And
同的。
the heavens
然
below
后像那个正法念
rather
处经
have
啊这些的
very
话呢，
different
就是上
behavior
面的
than
好
that
多
of
这个天
the
界的话呢，不
above.
像我们这个人
So
人间一
according
样
to
的，
the
就是
Sutra of
比如说
Right
男女的
Mindfulness,
话呢，
it
就
says
也并
that
不是是
many of
是
the
真正的这个
celestial
互相这个
beings
夫
or
妻啊，
the
就是或者
celestial
是一直这个数值啊，就是没有这样的，就是它
realms,
跟那个所有
they
的
do
男
not
男女
hold
女的话呢，就是
onto
也有可以就是比如说你这个
the
目
idea
视
of
也好，发
being
笑也好，或者是拥抱
spouses.
也好，就是
They are
都这
rather
个没有
not
固定的，就是也没有
monogamous.
固定的，就是所以说呢，就是上面的话呢，就是也可以这么说。还有《汉经》当中的话，实际上
According
是
to the
这
Long
些
Agama
这
Sutra,
天
it
人的
says
话呢，就
that
是都
the
有这
celestial
个
beings,
什么，包括这个倒立天呐，就是这些
including the beings in
的话呢，
the
就是都有这个所谓的什么
Trishrimsha's
这个
heaven,
婚姻呐，就是也有这样的这个
there are
说
also
法，就是不管
marriages.
怎么样呢，就是他们天界
So
的
there
生
are
活就
different
是这样的。
descriptions of
然后下面
the
呢，就是他就这样这个
life
还有这
in
么
the
一个特点，
celestial
就是
realm.
这些天人，他
Other
外
than
头
that,
像
there
是
is
若无
another
也，
specialty
世
about the
事无
celestial
随意
beings.
四
These
地，
celestial beings
为
are
占
born
不
in the
住有
embrace
孔明。
without any
那么
clothing,
这些这个
and the
本来我
age
们这个
is
世间
between
当中
10
的这
to
些有
5
情的话呢，
years
就是有
based
太上的，
on
有
the
世上的，
layers
有化身
of
的，
the different
还有呢
heaven,
就是有乱身的。
and
那
that
上面
is
所讲
in
到的这
or
些天界的
accordance to the Jambuvipa's age. We know that there are the 4 types of birth: the birth through womb, through moisture, through emanation, through eggs. And the celestial beings, their birth are through emanation. There's no womb or egg or moisture birth in the celestial realm. In terms of the emanation birth, at the time of the birth, to compare to the birth of the Jambuvipa, when the human beings at the age of 100, they're equivalent to the 4-year-old to the Nirmanarati heaven, and when and such kind of a human body at the 100 years of age is equivalent to the Tushita's heaven, is equivalent to the 8 years of age to the Tushita's heaven, and to the 7 years to the Yama's heaven, the 6 years of age to the Trishrimsha, and the 5 years to the 4 heavenly kings heaven, and to the Parinamita Vasavartin heaven, which is the highest of the desire heaven. Then it is equivalent to their 4 years of age. At the time of birth, they are without clothing, they are without light compared to the form realm, because in the form realm, the celestial beings are born there with light because they have their principle and they know what to do, what not to do. But maybe because the beings being reborn in the desire heavens, because they have not practiced such kind of principle, doesn't have that kind of bottom line when it comes to their practice. So they would come to this world naked, just like human beings, without light. But there is something that's different about the celestial beings. It is because they have all the perfect faculties, and they have the great wisdom, and they can remember their past lives. When we look at the great masters who take rebirth in the reincarnation in this world, they can remember their past lives, those tokus, for example. But the mundane beings like us, we can't even recite the alphabet at the time of birth. But the celestial beings, they can remember their past life, and they can remember a lot of things. So for example, there's a story of there was once a bhikshu at the time of meditating. There's a poisonous snake underneath his bed. Without noticing it, maybe at the time of falling asleep, without noticing, the snake bit his forehead, and then the bhikshu died because of that. After death, because he practiced the precept, he upholded precepts, therefore he took rebirth in the Trishrimsha's heaven. At the time of birth over there, then it is equivalent to the 6 years old in the human realm. At the time of waking up, the bhikshu, he saw that there are so many celestial women around him, and right away he was quite annoyed, because as a bhikshu, he upheld pure precepts, and he, out of his previous habitual tendency, he didn't like to get close to the women. And then the women went to the Indra and asked, saying that this particular celestial diva is different than the others. What should we do to take care of him? And then the Indra came close, and through the reflection of a large mirror of his, he saw the past life of this particular rebirth of the bhikshu, and explained that because he made the aspiration of renouncing from all the women, therefore, when he sees the celestial women around him, he sees them as the maras, as the ghosts and spirits. When he was taken to the Indra, and the others asked him to prostrate to the Indra, this particular reincarnation of the bhikshu said that, why should I prostrate to him? Does the Indra also parted from ignorance and desire and greed? And the celestial women said, no, Indra also has those. And then the bhikshu said that, why should I prostrate to him? When I was in the human realm, I prostrate to the Buddha, who's devoid of the 3 poisons. If one were to be like a Buddha, then I should prostrate to that particular being. Rather, the Indra should come and prostrate to me. There are lots of stories like such. And then later, the celestial women said that the Indra doesn't prostrate to anyone. If you were to get ordained over here, then the Indra would come and prostrate to you. So this reincarnation of the bhikshu took the vow and got ordained. After that, the Indra came to him and prostrate to him. And later, through his power of will, he led a great number of celestial beings to prostrate to the Buddha, after telling all of them the kindness and teaching of the Buddha. So there are stories like such. Now let's look at the next one. The great fragrant, wish-fulfilling jewel-adorned ground, the Trishrimshas heaven, the celestial beings have the 2 out of a quarter koshas height, which is 250 bow length. 100 years in human world is equivalent to 1 day in their world, and the duration of their life is 1,000 years. So let's look at the Trishrimshas heaven and the abiding place. The abiding place is a real terrestrial, real grounded heaven. And the name of this ground is called the Great Fragrant, wish-fulfilling tree-adorned ground. Now we have arrived to the true ground, which is above the Mount Sumeru. And the beings over here, their height is about half of the kosha, which is 250 bow length. And their 1 day is equivalent to the human realm 100 years. In this way, they can live for 1,000 years. And the celestial beings, they share the same way of lust to the humans. However, instead of in the human realm, it is through the sperm and blood. It is through exuding air from their body. By this way, they would be satisfied, and their wealth. And they can think of all kinds of wealth and provisions, let it be palace, cities, roads, and groves, and the ponds, and food and drink, everything. As long as they think of it right away, they would be able to obtain it, including all kinds of decoration, music, and instruments, and nectar, and all kinds of chariot, all kinds of playgrounds, and entertainment. As long as they can think of it, they would be able to enjoy it right away. Indeed, when it comes to the 5 aggregates, the enjoyments that is associated to 5 aggregates, there's such abundance of enjoyments there. I think we've heard of this story before. Once Madhikalayana told Indra, saying that the Buddha is giving the Dharma teaching, you should come and listen. Why are you not there to listen to the Dharma teaching? And then Indra said, no, I'm just too busy. I am too busy with other things. So why don't you go and ask another celestial being to attend there? So he told another celestial being, saying that you should come here, and being the king, the Indra being a king, calling his citizen. It took him 3 tries to call the celestial being there. It is because they're very distracted by entertainment, and there's so much abundant opportunities to enjoy all kinds of entertainment and pleasure. the Indra said that, look, my citizen, if I were to call my citizen, being a king over here, it took me 3 tries because they have such abundant enjoyments. But look at me, I am the king here, and I have innumerable celestial women around me, innumerable palaces to enjoy, and innumerable and infinite kinds of form, sound, smell, touch, and taste to enjoy. Look at me, I have so much distractions. How can I have time to do other things? And Modigalyana just felt really sad at that time. Just like the beings in our realm, we see the parallels in lots of the entrepreneurs nowadays. They're very busy with different projects, and they would say that, oh, I've invested something for $5 billion. This is, but $5 billion is not enough, and I need more. But human beings, they still need to get very busy and to obtain those things, and then they get busy to enjoy all kinds of things. When we look at people like that in the human realm, don't even mention about the kinds of distractions that's available in the celestial realm. It is indeed beyond our imagination. The wealth that we have in the human realm, just like Patrul Rinpoche said, it is so minuscule that is not worth mentioning. Now let's look at the last one, which is the heaven of the 4 great kings. In the 4 great kings, for the heaven of 4 great kings has the different levels and adorned by 4 kinds of jewels. We know that right above the 4 heavenly kings, 4 great kings heaven, it is the Treasury heaven, and then below that, the Mount Sumeru that's been adorned by 4 kinds of jewels at the 4 directions. It is the heaven of the 4 great kings, and the life duration is 500 years. Taking that human in the human realm, the 50 years is equivalent to 1 day in the heaven of 4 great kings, and their height is about 1/4 kosha, which is 125 bow length, and the way they enjoy passion is similar to that of the Trishrimsha's heaven. And similar to the Trishrimsha's heaven, they enjoy nectar, and they can enjoy all kinds of things to the amount that it's infinite. They can rely on the sun, moon, and the star to travel to different celestial cities and the 4 great continents. And the 4 great heavenly kings often come to the human realm and look at the human beings who's creating virtuous deeds and who's creating vice deeds, and would punish the ones creating the vice deeds and creating the fortunate or the favorable conditions to the virtuous beings. Now we've completed the teaching on the desire realm, and later we will look at Asuras and the human realm next time.